Well, I'm just looking at these numbers hitting the wires on BNP Paribas. Let's break them with Stefan Pedrazzi, and he'll give us some instant analysis. Stefan.
And the numbers, Steve, are stronger than expected for the fourth quarter. BNP Paribas posted a net profit of 1.36 billion euros. That's to compare with a loss a year ago of nearly 1.4 billion. This is due mainly to a lower cost of risk, 1.9 billion on the quarter. We were expecting something way above 2 billion. Baudoin Prot, the CEO of the bank, says the corporate and investment banking remained strong in the fourth quarter, but he refused to give an indication about the beginning of 2010. And if you look also at the revenue of BNP Paribas, it's weaker than expected, 10 billion euros, slightly more for the fourth quarter. We were expecting 10.2 billion euros. Listen to the comments of Baudoin Prot.
All in all, I think our revenues were a bit higher than expected, and cost of risk was lower than expected. That really made up for the difference. Altogether, I think we had a good last quarter and finishing a strong year for BNP Paribas.
What about the investment banking activity? How was the last quarter of the year, and how do you see the beginning of 2010?
The performance in the last quarter was still strong, at 2.2 billion euros of revenue, with fixed income certainly a bit lower than in the third quarter, but equity derivatives did well, and financing also remained strong. And well, we're positive that the beginning of the year turns to be good. Certainly, the first half of last year and first quarter was exceptional, but I think we still are positive on the trends. BNP Paribas has gained a lot of market share, and we see client business and client-driven business coming to the CIB platform still quite active.
What about the cost of risk? It was significantly lower in the last quarter of 2009. Are you confident that it's going to decrease progressively through this year?
I think that we saw the peak in the cost of risk toward the end of last year. As you mentioned, the cost of risk at 1.9 billion euros was down 17% compared to the third quarter of last year. We certainly saw cost of risk coming down in the corporate investment banking activities and financing activities. I think that we have certainly, hopefully we're turned the peak at Bank West. I think we're turned the peak also in the emerging markets. Altogether, we would expect the cost of risk at group level for this year, for 2010, to be altogether a bit lower than last year, yes.
Are you worried about the situation in Greece for the European economy, but also for your business at BNP Paribas?
Well, I think for BNP Paribas, our exposure in terms of the Eurozone economy is really centered where we have domestic markets and retail activities, namely France, Italy, Belgium, and now Luxembourg. So our exposure to Greece is limited. I think what is important is that we have to, well, I think it's very important that European governments and European authorities find some proper solution to the Greek problems, because of the risk of a domino effect if the Greece problem was not properly dealt with. But I'm confident that solutions will be found by the European authorities involved in this situation.
And we'll have more of this interview a bit later in the program. Baudoin Prot also is very much concerned about the Basel III negotiations and the decision that could harm the banks in Europe and in France. And also he says that prop trading was marginal at BNP Paribas, so this was not a major concern for the bank. We have also numbers hitting the wires from Atos Origin, the software company. Net profit at 32 million euros for the last year, which is way below the average forecast of 64 million. The revenue is down 3.7% in line with expectations. The company warns about a decrease of its organic revenue in 2010, but still it aims to raise its operating margin by 50 to 100 basis points over the next 12 years. This is just hitting the wires. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, and also hitting the wires is your interview with BNP Paribas. So well done on that, Stefan. Thank you very much indeed.